Folks, just a quick video. Well, I've been speaking to God about a few things that I spoke about earlier, really. And about other stuff as well. I mean, it's to say, today I've spoken up to God about the fact that He told me I've got to love these people in this church. And there are some people in the church who are making that virtually impossible. Yeah. But well, because if I've got to love them for who they are, okay, how? How? If they won't even acknowledge me, acknowledge that I'm even there, and they certainly won't engage me in a conversation, how am I supposed to get to know them for who they are? Yeah, there's no way, shape or form I can get to know them for who they are. Because I'm never going to know who they are. So, yeah. I'll put it this way, I mean, my experience with women in church, the only woman who was ever friendly with me from the first moment was Mrs. B. And I think that was only because God wanted me to think that she was going to be my wife, that she was a woman I wrote about 10 years earlier. I think that's the only reason why, because after that, she was certainly not friendly. After that, she was basically the same as the women in the church I'm at now. Being very cold most of the time. Although some, not so. No. Although, yeah. But even the ones that really aren't, there's a lot of them that are just, they say hello, that's it. Because, as I say, I think it's more the case with women than it is with men. And I think it's still the case with men, but I think it's more the case with women than it is with men. That until you prove yourself, they won't let you in. Well, my response to that is, who do you think you are? Do you really think that you have that much you can offer me? That I should bother to try and prove myself so I can get into your life because you're that special? Yeah? I don't get that. I really don't, because it's like, okay. Yeah. It's like, okay. This is what you want to be? Okay, do that. Yeah. But, God is saying, no, I've got to love them, so that's... It's difficult, because you've got to get to know people to love them, really. That's the thing. Really difficult to love someone that you don't know. So, yeah, that's not easy in any way, shape or form. So right now, basically, God is, it's like, God is saying to me, well, you're sort of there, but not really. Well, so I said to God earlier, okay, I said, let's say, with regards to the wife situation, if I met her tomorrow, would I be ready? And Father said yes. Well, then what's going on? Then why am I still waiting for this? Yeah, because if I'm ready, I would assume she is. Well, certainly, I mean, put it this way, I now know, there's no doubt at all that my life is completely different to when I allowed loving for Mrs. B, thinking that she was going to be my wife. Yeah, because at that point in time, I didn't think I was worthy of her, whereas I now know it's probably more the other way around, if it's going to be one way. But it's not going to be either way, so there you go. I couldn't care less about that crap. But at that point in time, I definitely believed that I needed a wife for my life to get to where it needed to be. Whereas now I know that's complete nonsense. My life is pretty much, certainly at the moment, exactly where it needs to be, and I've not got a wife. And so therefore, do I need that? No. I don't in any way, shape or form. But if I'm ready, I will assume she is as well. So And I was incredibly thankful when I actually believe God was saying, and I actually hope God was saying this, that I've never met her, because certainly of the women I've met, no. Not in any way, shape or form. No. No. Well, I've said this already. The most important factor is that we will be as one in all things. Well, from the women I've met so far, we're not as one, anywhere near as one in anything, as far as I can tell. In anything at all. Because my understanding of relationship with God is very different to theirs. Very different to theirs. And so we can't be as one on that. And that's pretty massive, actually. That has to be the thing we are most definitely as one on. So, okay. The Father's saying I've never met her. Good. I'm pleased about that, yeah. Yeah, that gives me a lot of joy. It doesn't give me a lot of joy the fact I'm still waiting. That's a bit annoying. Well, especially if Father said today I'm ready, but then, okay, come on. Come on then. Please bring. Yes. Look, I mean, to be honest, one thing I do know is, certainly it's the case with people from the church. If they're looking at my videos, certainly if they see the videos I did today, then they won't like what I've said. But I will say to them, like I said to the person who gives the thumbs down, come on in. Tell me where I'm wrong. A lot of people in church have the attitude of that they can't actually tell you where you're wrong because they know you're not wrong. But they focus on the fact that they don't know you, they don't trust you. Who are you to think you can say this about that person? That is the most stupid bloody argument. Who are you to think you can say this about that person? I can say what I want about anyone. If what I'm saying is true, then there's no harm at all intended with me saying what I'm saying about anyone, because what I'm saying is true. It's truth. It's not truth as far as I see it, it's truth. When I spoke about the ministry earlier, what I said was correct. Those were the things he said, and where I said those things are wrong is because they were bloody well wrong. They were wrong. It's as simple as that. Well, put it this way, I can understand sometimes why people may get upset by my videos because of the fact that they think I'm having a go at people. I'm not. No. As I said about the chap who did the thing today, the speaker of the day. It's not about him. It's about him being in that situation. So, who put him there? And the reason why that person said he should be there. Because he shouldn't be there, you can see by what he said. And how wrong he was when he was talking about the Bible and, the issues that he's speaking about. So, I'd be interested to know, why that person's thought that he would be the right person to put up there. Well, as I said before, you look at that. It's like elders. They go by the scripture that talks about elders. That elders have to be married and to have one wife and be proven to be a good husband, a good father, etc., etc., etc. But they're taking that from an infant church, from a completely baby infant church, a church that was barely 40 years old. Barely 40 years old, if that even. That didn't have the New Testament. They didn't have anywhere near the tools that we have. And yet we choose our leaders and our elders based on those principles that they chose people on then. When people didn't have the possibility of being mature, but we should be, because the church is now over 2,000 years old. So we should now be a damn sight more mature than they were, and yet... yeah, mate. I say, it's the insanity of it, where, yeah, the church has been doing things this way for donkey's years, and it's not worked. Yeah, people are crying out for revival because the church is so dead. That people are so desperate for revival. They're so desperate. Yeah, like I said about the meeting after the Queen died. There was all that pie in the sky thinking. Yeah, because the Lord was mentioned in the service of the Queen's funeral, that all these people that saw this are going to give their lives to God, or at least a load of them will. But that hasn't happened, and it was never going to happen. It was never going to be likely to happen. You know, so, yeah. That is all down to education. It's all down to the fact that the people teaching, they've not taught the people how to walk, and they've not taught the people the basics. Even the basics are missing in so many people. They just don't have an understanding of the basics. I said about the meeting today. To not understand that Eve had to be tempted and had to give in to temptation so that sin entered the world. Otherwise we wouldn't have any of what we have now. The world would be completely different. Yeshua would never have come down. There would have been no need for him to come down. You know, it's all just that ridiculously stupid, childish, incredibly childish understanding. That if Adam had just said no to the devil, you know, if the Jewish people had just chosen Jesus to set free, then we wouldn't be here. Because our sins wouldn't have been covered. Father would not be looking through the blood of his Son, who was sent to be the Lamb of God. You know, it's basic understanding that just isn't there. And you can't blame the people for that. But the problem is that people want messages like today, where he's joking, he's telling jokes, and the people in the church are laughing at his jokes. And that's part of what it's supposed to be about now. Is that that's what they want. They want people to tell jokes while they're bringing the message. Excuse me? Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Yeah. When you're talking about, you know, people giving their lives to God and needing God because they're going to go to hell if they don't. Oh, that's fucking hilarious, that, isn't it? Yeah, let's make jokes about stuff. When we're talking about, you know, people going through the problems they go through in life, let's make a few fucking jokes to go in with that, shall we? Great idea. Did the Lord do that? Nope. Oh, but we know better, don't we? But we know better than he did. He didn't bring jokes into it, but we know so much better than he did. Yeah? We know far more how to reach people. It's just stupidity. All that is just stupidity. It's not just about that. Neil Silverberg did the same. Yeah, if you want to tell jokes, go to a comedy club. The church is not the place for that. There's nothing about people's lives away from God that's a fucking joke. Nothing about that in any way, shape or form. The fact that people are struggling for hope, oh, that's bloody hilarious, that, isn't it? Let's talk about that, but let's throw some jokes in to make people laugh so that they receive it. What do you mean so they receive it? They won't receive it, they just remember the jokes. The problem is that, you know, these people that are speaking, they have no idea that people's ability to retain information and what they're more likely to retain. If something makes them laugh, they're more likely to remember that than they are the serious stuff. And with regards to the serious stuff, if there's no jokes, if you have a ministry in church that lasts for 40 minutes, chances that they're going to remember very, very much of it is incredibly slim. So that's why, I mean, for me, if God gives me a subject, I like to try and keep that subject down to the bare minimum of what God has told me. Yeah, like earlier, the other day I did do videos at like 7 minutes, 6 minutes, that sort of size, because they're bite-sized videos, but they're talking about, boom, that particular thing, boom. That's the point. Yeah, they're targeted. And targeting the message is far more effective. Yeah, we have bloody drugs where the adverts for a drug say this drug targets the pain. Well, targeting is pretty important, isn't it, really? Yeah, politicians, they target their local members who see things in a certain way, so they target the message to them to try and get their vote. Yeah, the people in the community. They target a message to certain people to try and get their vote. Targeting works. But targeting means you thin it down to the, so that it's received by those people. That's what targeting means. I said in the previous one that, if we're trying to hit a nail on the head, but we're missing all the time, well then we're not going to be trusted to bring a message, are we? The problem is in the church, they don't really care if you hit the nail on the head. Hitting the nail on the head means you make people laugh. I mean, close a church and just start a comedy club. If that's what it is, close a church and start a bloody comedy club. There's no point having a church. If it's about making people laugh, then just, don't bother. Oh, I've got no time for that crap at all. I really don't, because we have a society where people are struggling and people are suffering, and we're sitting in church making people laugh. Great. Well done. Oh, well done. Fantastic. That really is going to make a difference to our local society, isn't it, really? This is what you're doing. And again, I'm not going to go at the bloke who did it today, because it's not him. It's ministers in general. They seem to think that that's what to do. To throw a few jokes in there. Make it a bit sort of light-hearted because people like that. No, that's what you call a nice message. A nice message is that lukewarm crap that the Lord pukes out. Yeah, let's not do that, please. If we're going to move forward and we're going to start seeing God move, then we've got to stop doing this crap. We've got to learn. We've got to understand why things haven't worked. Because if we're going to move forwards, then okay. Let's move forwards, but let's understand. Let's move forwards with a degree of understanding, certainly about what doesn't work. As I say with me, I'm incredibly thankful to God that I understand that I have no ability and no power to understand how people need to hear things. And because I understand that, it means that, really, certainly if I come into contact with people, I ask God to guide me and lead me. And I'm trying to do that more and more and more, because I know that that's the way things are going to work. They're not going to work any other way. They're only going to work that way. That is the reality. And people need to understand. Yeah. Anyway, that'll do you. Yeah. But that's the point. I mean, as a catch up on this one, or round up on this one, if people want you to love them, they're going to make it a bit easier for you to do that. They're certainly going to make it possible for you to do that. And comedy doesn't belong in church. It belongs in a comedy club. Especially when you're at a time when the church has been dead for a long time. where people haven't been receiving healings or deliverances or anything from God for a long, long time. Yeah, bring comedy in. Great idea. Yeah. When what we need is God, yeah, let's try and see. Because again, it's about looking at worldly speakers and how they do things, and they use comedy. That's how worldly speakers. And then the problem is, if you ask these people, are you of the world or are you of God? Oh my God, you're acting as if you're of the fucking world. Stop acting as if you're of the bloody world. If you're of God, then be of God. Stop walking as if you're of the world. Because that way it's taken from the world. It's not taken from... Look in Scripture. Where do you see comedy in it? Certainly look in the bloody New Testament. Where do you see comedy? Yeah, when did Paul, stop halfway through his letter and put a joke in there? When did the Lord, halfway through preaching, suddenly start telling jokes? Stop being of the world. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There you go. You take care. God bless. I'll speak to you soon. Have a fantastic weekend. All the best. Yeah, hopefully next week I can do some more positive videos. Today's been a difficult one. So, yeah. Although, I've remade cake. And it's come out a lot better this time. I made that one today. It came out a lot better. So, it's really good. Yeah. Well, I did it for a lot less time. And I turned the heat down on the cooker. So, it made quite a difference. And it came out beautiful. It looks a lot better this time. So, hopefully I've put less fruit in it. Because I want it to be a bit lighter. Because the last one I did was quite heavy. It was quite... so I want this one to be a bit lighter. So, I'm going to see if it is. Yeah, that'd be good. So that's good news, isn't it? There you go. There you go. You take care. God bless. I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.